Sometimes the question that should be the easiest part of an interview is the one that really trips up candidates, such as when the interview asks, "Tell me about yourself." This is the one question you should expect to get, and you should really be confident of nailing. After all, you are the expert of all things you, and as such, should have a solid answer at the ready. But in my time as an MIT Sloan interviewer and AdCom member, I got a range of answers to this seemingly simple query that sometimes caused me to wonder what the candidate was thinking. When answering the "tell me about yourself" question, remember why the interview is asking this. They want to get a sense that you've been thoughtful about your path and career to date, and that you've not just randomly moved through the workforce.
Well, this is a very basic question. It gives you an excellent opportunity to highlight your career choices and trajectory. So, how can you make the best of your response? Think of this as a version of your elevator pitch. It should be no longer than 2 or 3 minutes and should be a highlight reel of your work, ideally since college. It does not need to include every single detail of your life, and this is not the place to start at the very beginning, such as, "I was born in Peoria," unless that happens to be very relevant to your story, which actually was the case with a Stratus client who started his mock interview with me by saying he grew up in a small town on a farm. Since his goal was to improve options for organic farming, that little tidbit that otherwise might have been unnecessary gave his story great context.
That said, usually the logical place to start is college. Mention why you picked your college and your major. If you're doing something totally different than your major would suggest, for example, you were a pre-med neuroscience major, but now you're working as an investment banker, give a little bit of context for that choice. Maybe you passed out giving blood and realized that med school was not really for you, or you got dragged by your roommate to a presentation by JP Morgan and realized that banking really was your thing. Here too, this is just brief and to give the interviewer a sense of your path. Then really focus on the inflection points in your career to date. What drew you to your first job? What did you learn there? If you've been promoted, what new skills did you learn? If you've moved firms, why?
Go through your resume job by job. What drew you to make the changes you made? Were there opportunities to build more skills, have more leadership responsibility, or focus on work that was more interesting or better aligned with your goals? Give a brief synopsis. If you have stayed at the same company since college, that's okay too. If you've had a promotion or two, talk about the different responsibilities you have asked for or taken on as you have grown. If you are an industry like engineering that doesn't hand out promotions very often, you can and actually should still highlight how you have grown over your tenure at the firm and how your skill set has expanded. There will still be inflection points for you to cite.
On the other end of the spectrum, if you've moved around to several different firms or roles, or if your path really was random, you still want to make a case for your movement so you don't appear to be a job hopper. If you've had numerous roles, it is even more important to cite why you've made the changes you have and to try to show a thread between and among your roles. Whatever your path, be sure to cite your leadership responsibilities, either formal or informal, that you've been assigned or have sought out, and highlight a specific project or two where you've made a positive impact. Generally, this should not morph into a "why MBA" or "why this program" response, but you can close your answer by saying that to reach your goals, you now need to gain a specific skill set and that this program is the ideal place for you to do so. Then, if the interviewer wants to ask why you're interested in getting an MBA and/or in their program, you can give them more details.
Of course, a great way to practice this question is in a mock interview. You can sign up for one with me or Lisa or another Stratus counselor at our site, linked below in the description. And for more interview tips, check out the next video.